Being a dog sounds great, right? Man's best friend, belly rubs on demand, free food, what's not to love? Well, let me tell you, it's a scam. First off, personal space. Forget it. Your entire existence is just humans grabbing your face, patting your head, and talking to you in a voice that makes them sound like they've lost half their brain cells. Who's a good boy? I don't know, Janet. Maybe someone who isn't forced to pee next to a tree every morning in sub-zero temperatures. And then there's the identity crisis. Ever notice how people confuse dogs with other creatures? Oh, look at that cute little puppy. No, Karen, that's a baby wolf. And don't even get me started on the people who call me a good little alligator. An alligator? Because yeah, clearly, I'm just a short reptile with fur and an existential crisis. Oh, and speaking of existential crises, let's talk about how everything I love is a crime. Wanna bark? Shh, quiet! Wanna dig a hole? Stop ruining the yard! Wanna sniff another dog's butt? That's inappropriate! First of all, Chad, if you introduced yourself to people the way I do, maybe you wouldn't be single. But the real kicker? We're owned. We have to wait for permission to eat, sleep, go outside. I could be the Einstein of dogs, but at the end of the day, my future depends on whether Todd over there remembers to buy the right brand of kibble. And if he doesn't, it's healthy, grain-free organic nonsense that tastes like cardboard and regret. So yeah, being a dog, hard pass. Evolution did me dirty. Spoken with a dry, self-deprecating tone, as if confiding a dark secret. You ever stop and wonder why life dealt me this furry, four-legged hand? I mean, think about it. While some creatures get to be majestic eagles, wise old tortoises, or even the sleek charm of a panther, here I am, born a dog. And let me tell you, it ain't all belly rubs and fetch games. In fact, being a dog is like signing up for the world's most absurd reality show where the script is written in slobber and endless whining. So buckle up. This is the unsanitized truth about the life of a canine misfit. It all started at the puppy mill of destiny, a place where you don't choose your fate. Fate chooses you, and it chooses to drench you in fur and awkward puppy breath. The moment I opened my eyes, I was thrust into a world of confusion and expectations. Instead of a gentle lullaby, my first memories were a barrage of howls, barks, and the incessant sound of a door slamming shut. Even as a pup, I realized there was no escape from a life of being petted, prodded, and paraded around like some prize-winning furball at a county fair. And here's the kicker. No matter how adorable you are, you're always just one sloppy mistake away from being mistaken for something else entirely. Now let's talk about a typical day. You wake up in a dog bed that's seen better days, with a human who thinks "good morning" means leaping onto your belly for a face full of kisses. Without even asking permission, you're dragged out for a walk, not because you're excited to explore, but because someone believes you should get some fresh air while you're still half asleep. And oh, the walk. You're forced to parade around the neighborhood, sniffing every lamppost as if it holds the secrets of the universe. Meanwhile, your human is busy scrolling through their phone, oblivious to the fact that you're auditioning for the role of most patient creature on earth. By midday, it's snack time, unless the kibble is out, in which case you're left to mourn a gastronomic injustice while your human sulks over a broken food bag. And let's not forget the dreaded moment when you're caught mid-bark, trying to alert everyone of a squirrel's nefarious presence. That's when you're reminded, you're the family watchdog, but if your bark doesn't match your bite, you're just a noisy ornament in a suburban jungle. Here's where things get really weird. You see, no one can ever get your identity right. I'm not just a dog, I'm the dog, an existential enigma wrapped in fur, but every time someone opens their mouth, it's like they've forgotten the fundamentals of canine identity. Oh, look at that cute little puppy, they coo. Cute? I'm not a little puppy. I'm an adult with complex feelings and dreams of a life free from chew toys and bath times, and if that weren't enough, there's a particularly bizarre phenomenon that plagues us, people confusing dogs with alligators and even other baby dogs. Picture this. You're strutting down the street, tail high, and suddenly someone shouts, "Hey, check out that alligator pup!" Really? An alligator pup? I mean, come on, look at me. My fur isn't even scaly, my bark isn't snappy, and I certainly don't lurk in murky swamps. Yet here I am, trapped in a world where my very existence is up for interpretation. Maybe it's because we share that same babyish charm with other canines, or perhaps it's just another case of mistaken identity in this crazy animal kingdom. Either way, it's a constant reminder that I'm more than a stereotype. I'm a unique, if perpetually misunderstood creature. Humans, they're our overlords and sometimes our best friends, but mostly, they just don't get it. Every day, I'm forced to comply with their whims. They decide when I eat, when I sleep, and when I'm allowed to relieve myself. In designated spots, mind you. They have this delusional belief that because I'm cute, I should never be allowed to have a bad day. But trust me, even a dog has its moments of existential dread. Imagine having to sit through an entire day of belly rubs when all you want is a moment of peace, or being forced into a car every time the human decides it's playtime at the dog park, where you're judged by how well you fetch a stick that might not even be worth the effort. And let's not even talk about those moments when your human changes your name mid-conversation. Good boy, buddy. No, wait. Fido, come here. By the time you've learned one name, you're expected to respond to a dozen more. It's enough to make a dog question the very nature of identity. Then there's the dog park, a social arena where every sniff is a conversation and every bark is a political statement. Sure, it sounds fun in theory, but the reality is a chaotic mix of territorial disputes, over-enthusiastic puppies, and a hierarchy that even the finest political analyst would struggle to decode. The alpha dog struts around like he owns the place, while the rest of us are left trying to figure out who's in charge and who's just here for the treats. And don't get me started on play dates. Ever try to have a casual conversation when all anyone can do is chase their own tail or roll in the mud? Meanwhile, humans sip their coffee, nodding approvingly at the socialization, completely oblivious to the fact that we're just exchanging a series of barks and sniffs that, to us, are the canine equivalent of endless small talk. Sometimes I think we'd all be better off if we could just use words instead of woofs, though then again, that might rob us of our unique charm. Let's face it, dogs have a job description that's as vague as it is demanding. We're supposed to be loyal, loving companions, but that means constantly watching our humans like a security detail, even if they're just sitting on the couch watching TV. And if we try to take a break, we're immediately shamed. "Lazy dog," they exclaim, as if napping is some sort of dereliction of duty. Imagine having dreams of becoming a canine intellectual, only to be forced into a life of unending play and obedience training. I've spent countless hours pondering the mysteries of the universe, like why the mailman shows up every day and why a perfectly good tree always becomes the designated pea post. But no, my genius is wasted on chasing my tail and performing tricks for treats. It's like being stuck in a job where you're paid in slobber and licks instead of a paycheck. Now let's revisit that all too frequent case of mistaken identity. It happens in the most ludicrous of circumstances. One sunny afternoon at the dog park, as I was in the middle of an epic nap under a tree, a kid ran over and shouted, "Mommy, look! That dog looks like a baby alligator." I couldn't believe my ears. A baby alligator. I mean, sure, I'm adorable, but I'm hardly a reptile in disguise. You see, every time I encounter these bizarre mix-ups, it stings a little. Not only do I have to explain that I'm a dog and a proud one at that, but I also have to endure the snickering and wide-eyed wonder as onlookers try to compare my floppy ears and wagging tail to the fearsome scales of an alligator. And if that wasn't enough, sometimes they lump me in with other baby dogs, like I'm part of some canine clique. Oh, isn't he just like Fluffy and Barkley? They say, as if our individual quirks were lost in a sea of identical barks and shared water bowls. It's like being reduced to a caricature in a cartoon where every dog is exactly the same. Except me, I'm trying to be unique, but the world just can't handle that. In quieter moments, if you can call them that, I find myself pondering the great injustices of canine life. Here I am, forced to wear a collar like a symbol of submission, always tethered to a human's whims, while the freedom I crave remains as elusive as the scent of a passing stranger on a windy day. I dream of a world where I could choose my own path, where belly rubs and walks were privileges earned through my own merit, not dictated by a schedule marked on a digital calendar. I even question why nature, in its infinite wisdom, or lack thereof, decided that dogs should have such a limited range of emotions. Sure, we can express joy, loyalty, and a hearty dose of mischief, but what about the unspoken yearning for more? The desire to bark at existential injustices instead of just the mailman, to sit in silent protest against a world that forces us to chase our own tails? It's a dog's life, and while we wear our fur and wag our tails with pride, sometimes the weight of our canine destiny feels heavier than a stuffed toy left in the rain. And then there's the new age torture, social media. Yes, even dogs aren't immune to the digital age. Today's pups are expected to be influencers. Picture it, a dog with 1,000 followers posting daily perspectives on life. Look at me living my best life, they say, as if my entire existence were a glamorous photo shoot. But behind every Instagram filter is the reality of endless baths, expensive grooming sessions, and the never-ending pressure to pose perfectly while silently judging your human for their fashion choices. The irony is palpable. We're marketed as symbols of unconditional love and joy, yet every snapshot hides the inner turmoil of a creature forced to perform for likes and shares. One minute you're a star on a trending hashtag, the next you're relegated to the forgotten pet corner of the internet with no rescue video or viral moment in sight. It's a digital dog-eat-dog world out there, and even a four-legged friend isn't safe from the scrutiny of endless scrolling. And then there's the new age torture, social media. Yes, even dogs aren't immune to the digital age. Today's pups are expected to be influencers. Picture it, a dog with 1,000 followers posting daily perspectives on life. Look at me living my best life, they say, as if my entire existence were a glamorous photo shoot. But behind every Instagram filter is the reality of endless baths, expensive grooming sessions, and the never-ending pressure to pose perfectly while silently judging your human for their fashion choices. The irony is palpable. We're marketed as symbols of unconditional love and joy, yet every snapshot hides the inner turmoil of a creature forced to perform for likes and shares. One minute you're a star on a trending hashtag, the next you're relegated to the forgotten pet corner of the internet with no rescue video or viral moment in sight. It's a digital dog-eat-dog world out there, and even a four-legged friend isn't safe from the scrutiny of endless scrolling. Let's not forget the dynamics within the pack, your own family. Whether it's the overbearing mother who won't let you stray more than a few feet from the dog bed, or the rebellious sibling who's always sneaking out for midnight adventures, there's a whole layer of canine family drama that you'd never expect. Picture a dinner table where every bowl of kibble is scrutinized, where every wag of the tail is a subtle power move in an intricate game of sibling rivalry. And then there's the inevitable comparison. Why is Spot always so well behaved? Why can't you be more like Fido? It's like growing up in a household where your individuality is smothered by expectations of cuteness and obedience. Every bark is analyzed, every tail wag rated, leaving you to wonder if there's any hope of ever being seen as more than just another furry accessory in the family portrait. Sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet and the humans have gone to sleep, I entertain a wild fantasy. What if I could escape? Not just a quick run to the park, but a full-blown epic getaway. I imagine a world where dogs are free from leashes and schedules, where we can roam vast fields without the constant threat of bath time or vet visits. A place where I'm not confused with alligators or lumped in with the usual pack, but celebrated for my unique bark and independent spirit. Of course, this fantasy is quickly shattered by the sound of a creaking floorboard or the distant hum of a human's snore. I'm snapped back to reality, forced to settle for a life of quiet rebellion, sneaking an extra treat here and there, or subtly sabotaging the morning walk by refusing to come when called. It's the closest I'll ever get to freedom, a fleeting moment of canine defiance in a world that's determined to keep me in line. So here we are, at the end of my tirade. If you're still with me after all these confessions, you might understand that life as a dog isn't the glorified, carefree existence people paint it to be. It's a series of compromises, forced playdates, identity crises, and the never-ending struggle to be more than just a prop in someone else's life. I'm constantly battling the absurdities of being labeled, mistaken, and manipulated by a world that barely comprehends the complexity of a canine soul. And yes, even the infamous mix-up, being confused with alligators and other baby dogs, is just another chapter in the long, absurd chronicle of my life. It's a reminder that no matter how hard I try to stand out, the world loves to reduce me to a punchline. But maybe, just maybe, by laughing at the ridiculousness of it all, I can reclaim a little bit of dignity. So next time you see a dog, remember, behind every wagging tail lies a saga of missed opportunities, misunderstood identities, and a constant struggle against a world that just won't let you be yourself. Being a dog is a full-time gig of indignities and absurdities, a tragic comedy that plays out every single day. I'm not just a good boy or man's best friend. I'm a living, breathing example of evolution's sense of humor. And while I may never escape the leash of fate, I'll keep barking, keep dreaming, and keep laughing at the sheer absurdity of it all. Pause for effect, then in a resigned but defiantly spirited tone. So to all my fellow four-legged philosophers out there, here's to us, the misunderstood canines of this crazy world. May we never forget that even in a life full of belly rubs and fetch games, there's a spark of rebellion waiting to break free. And if anyone ever mistakes us for alligators or lump us in with the regular pups, just give a little extra bark. Let the world know that our uniqueness cannot be tamed.